If you're showing up for your goals, but you're not getting the results that you want, you need to clear the internal blocks first. Because you can have the best business model and strategies, but if you're unconsciously believing that you need to work hard or that you don't deserve the success you really desire, you're only going to go so far. Watch as I coach this beautiful man in first getting out of his own way so that he can find the clarity and strategies that will serve him most.
All right, so I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, great. I have some ideas on so I got some clarity around some goals.
Okay.
At least on the financial part
Yes.
and what I want the life to kind of look like.
Yes.
Great. So I have it for this year, and then I have it for in general. Great. The problem is to get there is I don't know, and there's like 5 or 6 ideas, and I have access to lots and lots of resources. Like if I think of a thing, I know a guy who has done that. Like it's surprising. Like and so it feels like there's all these different things to do.
Yeah.
And then I get a whole bunch of it, and then it feels hard, and then I think Doritos are the answer to this. And then I don't do anything.
Yeah.
There's no way that this is how the rest of my life goes.
Yeah.
Because that's not happening.
Where did you learn that you had to work hard?
You know, so I was raised really religious, and so it was, if you want to be a better person, you have to go through this X, Y, and Z process, which was inherently invited a bunch of pain into it, where you have to be really, obviously you have to realize that you're horrible, and then once you realize you're horrible, that's where you start, and then you can do, no, it's really true though, like you have to feel bad, and then you get to feel good.
Yeah. And so the fact that you can see that pattern, which is huge, tells me now you have leverage over it. And you can start stretching the capacity to notice the pattern rather than just jump right into it. Because if we were to do some strategy around a business model, like we were just saying, from this place of I need to work hard and then I need to prove that I'm good enough, and then it's like that would give you a lot of to-dos. And it would be, so it's like first you're already aware of that. So the more you can see it, that you're in that dynamic, and without judgment, you're growing the muscle to see it rather than be caught into it. And the bigger that gap is between seeing it and jumping into it, the easier it is to choose a different way. Sometimes it's an old conditioned pattern. That's okay. And there are tools and ways to get out of it. But the fact that you can see it is first step. Some of the stuff that's really deep, that have been embedded, into our subconscious around religious or stuff that we've had since we were younger. It has its own timeline. It doesn't have to be hard or long, but to really bring mindfulness into it. What I mean by being mindful and getting present is going back to those images where that perceptual filter was put on.
Got it.
Or just any time in your life if you can't find the original one. And then really taking a look at, I'll guide you through, do you have a certain experience where you remember buying into this sort of sacrificial punishment?
Yeah, vaguely. I don't have a specific memory, but like a lot of it's in early teens, because like most Mormonism, like nothing's like bad until you get to like sex. Like you can lie and be an asshole, but like it's only when like sex occurs that's like the first time you can do something really bad. So I remember feeling bad around that topic, and then you have to feel bad, and then you have to go talk to like your bishop or something like that, and then you have a wildly embarrassing conversation with your bishop. Some like 45-year-old guy who doesn't want to be there any more than you do. And then you like are supposed to feel better after that somehow. So it's like this sort of quasi-confessional with your best friend's dad.
Okay, so you're there. I mean, you've clearly painted this picture. Everyone's there? All right, so what are you believing in that moment?
So I felt at that time, I actually didn't feel that bad, but I knew I had to feel bad. Like I knew that I should feel bad. And then when I became less active in the church, that was the hardest part, was just I knew I should feel bad, and because I felt bad, then I was good.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. You felt like you knew that you should feel bad, but you didn't.
Yeah.
And then you felt bad about that?
Yeah.
Okay. So be there in that office. You should feel bad. Just stay there with that, however old you were. How old were you?
13.
Okay, with that 13-year-old boy, okay? Just be there in that moment then. You should feel bad. Can you absolutely know without a shadow of a doubt that you should feel bad?
I mean, beyond a shadow of a doubt, no, but the 13-year-old version doesn't know either way.
Okay. Oh, he doesn't know either way.
He doesn't know because like that's all of my feedback mechanisms. That was like it was a very inclusive feedback mechanism involving family. Those were my friends. Like there wasn't any other data.
So be in the unknown. See what that's like in that experience back then. Really let yourself not know.
Okay.
Good or bad, I don't really know.
If I didn't know, if I could have not felt bad.
Yeah.
A little uncertain.
And what does that feel like? What does the uncertainty and unknown feel like?
I think it would just be questioning, and it would just be sort of like a ride. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. What does that feel like?
Just like, sounds like bullshit.
Yeah.
You know? Are you sure that's how that works? I'm not certain that that's accurate.
So, but if you were to name that feeling,
it's like a curious, because because it's an authority figure that's telling me, but it doesn't sit well with like what is in here. Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like there's the 13-year-old boy who's saying, "I should feel guilty."
Yeah.
And what's that like what did you feel like when you were believing that thought?
Self-flagellating, like really giving myself a guilt trip.
So you were actually inflicting
It
guilt
takes
on
an
yourself.
active emotional effort to do. Yeah.
Okay, and what's that feel like?
Exhausting.
Okay.
It's exhausting.
And how much of that is still playing out in your life right now?
Fair amount, but much lesser degree.
Okay.
It used to be much worse.
Okay.
Much better.
I wonder, I just am curious if working hard is the new way of doing that.
Yeah, maybe working hard isn't the word I should have used, but perhaps being competent. Like if I can't be competent at it, then I'm not good at it, and therefore I shouldn't do it. Does that make sense? Like I have to work hard to get really good at the thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Essentially, all goes back down to not good enough.
It still goes there.
Yeah, and based off of a conditioning where you learned that.
Yeah.
Where that wasn't your inherent truth or knowing, you learned that.
Yeah.
So innocent.
Yeah.
So, who would you be in that situation, in that office, without the belief that you weren't competent, that you're not good enough, or that you need to feel guilty? Without any of that story. Same situation.
Yeah, I feel like I just kind of walk out of there a lot more lighthearted. Like, Paul, do you know what this guy said? Like, that's really weird. He said I had to do like this, and this. And I had to talk to him next time this happens, which...
So that feeling is kind of like more lighthearted.
More lighthearted, more curious, more like, more trusting, more innately trusting of kind of what it is that like sits well in there.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Now you know where your power comes from.
Okay.
Same situation was happening. One way you were buying into the story of I'm not good enough and I need to feel guilty.
Okay.
Same situation. Without that, you said you feel your sense of power and trusting in what your truth is rather than what somebody else is telling you.
Yeah.
Nothing else changed other than this.
Okay.
Just want you to see that.
Yeah, I see that.
Okay.
That's clear.
Yeah. Okay, so you're a little boy.
Yep.
Just imagine this sweet, innocent little boy that was told he's not good enough, essentially, unconsciously, and that you need to do X, Y, and Z to be good enough.
Yeah.
If you were talking to him, what would you say to him?
I think I'd probably say, everyone's going to do what they're going to do anyway. Like, you're not going to be John, Becca, Ben. No one's going to be Ben. No one's going to be Joseph. You're going to be Matt. And Matt's going to be Matt, whatever Matt's going to do. It doesn't have to do anything, or it doesn't have to be a thing. It already is a thing.
Yeah.
That's what I'd probably say.
Okay. And check in to see if that part of you could hear that, could receive that. Essentially what I'm hearing is, you're perfect exactly as you are. There's nothing wrong with you. It's really okay. Now I'm just going to speak to this, if that's okay. This part. There's nothing you need to do to be anything more. You are more than enough. And it's totally okay to have these feelings. They don't have anything to do with who you already are.
Yeah, I could do that.
Okay?
Yeah.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
So what's that feel like right now?
open.
Yeah.
You know, it's just more, just peaceful, just being, you know, and then everything else is just kind of what do you want to play with, what feels like something you want to do. Yeah.
Beautiful. So you have a resonance for what this is like, and you received it so beautifully.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't any barriers, which is really nice, open channel.
Mm-hmm.
So now you know if this story comes up, this is all it's looking for.
Okay.
To really just receive your parenting, your presence, to meet that energy. And then from here, it's like, okay, let's talk about a new way. What do I want to do? What are my goals?
I don't know what that exactly looks like.
Let's play with it.
Okay.
So stay connected to this energy.
You know, for me, it would be something that would be more fun. You know, something that I like having fun, and it's not, and my work doesn't always invite that in a way that I would like.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like I need breathing room. I don't want to do something for 60 hours a week. I've done that before and it's not fun.
Yeah.
Like it's...
My sense is you need some variety.
Yeah.
But not too much, but just enough variety, because with too much variety, you'll split yourself thin.
Yes.
So what I would encourage you to do is write down all your fun ideas in a book, and then choose 3 max.
Okay.
To really focus in on over a long haul until that gets momentum.
Okay.
And then you can look at your book again and add more in.
What's the criteria for the 3 that I've picked?
Let's talk about it. Yeah?
So...
Your values.
Okay, yes.
Okay. Fun, I'm hearing, is 1.
Yeah, no, fun, connection, money, personal growth, really thoughtful or mind out, something that's done well. Like, I like, you know, any job that's done, anything that's done well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're kind of refining those, but you've got an idea of where they're starting.
I do.
So what are some of your options right now that you're considering?
I like my job, but it's not where, like, I'm looking around at other people that have my job, and I'm looking at other people that are like 15, 20 years down the road, and I'm not loving the future of it.
Yeah.
And I've done this before, like I was in sales for a long time, and now I'm an attorney. And so I kind of look down 15, 20, and I'm like, I'm not loving it.
Yeah.
And I'm looking 15, 20 now, and I'm like, I like this more. I like this a lot better. There's a lot of growth, and there are some parts of it that are fun. I don't know what door 3 is, though. And it helps me feel like I'm mitigating some risk by having door 2 as an option, so I'm grateful that I did it. Door 3, I don't know. Most of the things that I think about, I'm like, well, I'm likely working for myself. I'd like to be able to have the chance to create whatever the thing is that I want, to create the lifestyle that I want.
Okay.
So that I have time to spend with children, I have time to go screw around, I have time to see my family, just so I have the options.
What I'm really hearing from you is fun and freedom are really core for you. There's a few others, connection and growth. You like being challenged and you like growing. There are ways that you can set up a career where you don't just do one thing, where you can be, you know, I'm just giving one example because we'll talk about them for you, but if you were a consultant, you can consult with different companies. You go in and look at their thing, but you've got something stable. Yeah. And then you offer consulting or coaching or whatever your service is to different, there's a sense of variety. Yeah. And that you don't have to just stick to it. I do want to encourage you not to look at what other people are doing 20 years out, because you can do it completely different and be really innovative within a profession if you want.
That's fair.
But it just depends on what is fun for you and what you like. And I really hear variety as a sense of something you need.
Yeah, it is.
So then, based on knowing those things, what are you looking at as option 3? Do you feel like it would be more fun and freeing to do a totally different career shift like you have in the past? Or do you feel like it may be using some of what you're doing as an attorney and doing it differently?
Unclear. Okay. I naturally gravitate towards something totally different, which freaks me out. Yeah. Because it's like, how many times are we doing this, Matt? Like, we're doing this a 3rd time? And like, I have 2 kids, like, you know, they need and want things.
Yeah.
And then something related to it feels safer, but I don't know. I haven't yet found the niche where I'm like, oh, that sounds awesome. Let's do that.
Yeah. Did that happen for you with you being an attorney?
No. What happened for me was I didn't like doing sales because I got bored and I needed more variety. And I was like, oh, okay, great. This is something that will give me endless amount of detail to have fun with and play with.
Interesting.
And that's why mostly it was in some sense a reaction, in some sense like hey, this could be something that would be more interesting to do.
Well, you tend to take risks.
Yeah, I do.
You tend to like challenges.
Mm-hmm.
You like variety, fun, and freedom.
Yeah.
There are so many different ways to set that up. We can talk about that. But I would make sure that whatever you do gives you that room to honor those values. That will help you stay inspired and growing within, because it just depends. There is a risk when you change careers. Totally fine to do it. You also have a sense of trust in yourself and capability that you can do it because you've already proven it. So you could do it again. Yeah. But if you're at a point where it's like, I'm a dad and I want to make this much and I want to guarantee that, then you may have different choices at this point. Right. It's just an option, not good or bad.
Well, it's just choices in how I do it. Like, there's no way that, I can figure this out. This is not, either God exists or he doesn't, he, she, it, whatever we're calling it. Either it's going to work or it's not. Yeah. And if it ends up screwing up, so what? That's not like the worst thing in the world that's ever happened. We'll just do something else.
Okay. I love how resourceful you are.
Yeah.
That's huge. Beautiful demonstration of that.
Thank you.
So what sounds fun?
All right. The only thing that I can think of that I would do for free, just for the hell of it, is vacation planning. I love researching about a particular area and researching the snot out of it. Like before law school, my brothers and I were going to spend 2 or 3 weeks doing a biking trip. We were going to cycle, and all we knew was the Canadian Rockies. And I was like, all right, I got it. And I was working in sales. I mean, this is probably why I'm not in sales anymore. But I spent a lot of my time researching. All right, what is there to see? Where is there to stay? And I set up the entire 2 weeks. It was gorgeous. If any of you need to know anything about the Canadian Rockies, I'm your guy.
So. You've got this real competent businessman, and he's very resourceful. And then there's also this adventure, this one that really loves freedom. Yep. That kind of keeps the options open. Yeah. And what I'm looking at is, let me just ask you about this thing. So if you were to be successful with this, can you envision it? 20 years down the line is so hard to see with the internet.
Hard to see anything.
But can you envision yourself, would that be enough fun and variety to be doing custom experiences for people or having a team that does that?
For some reason, I don't know why 20 gives me a hard time, but I'm I can do that for 10, 15 years. Okay. It's a big world, and there's a lot of people that are super interesting, and I like people. Yeah. People are fun.
Yeah. It's more about how you do your job than what you do.
Yeah.
So setting it up so that it really supports your values will make it fulfilling, and you'll bring more energy and creative innovation to it to reach your financial goals.
Got it.
You could absolutely still be an attorney and start opening up this next thing.
I totally have the ability to do that.
I would encourage you, you're saying you don't know, so it's as soon as the fear came up, you said, I don't know how to do it, but I know you do.
That's the story I get to tell myself, because then that way, then I don't have to do it, and I still get to feel bad about it, which is awesome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That feeling though, where you're like, oh, if I feel bad, because then I don't have to feel empowered, and then I don't have to take a step.
Well, if I don't know, then I don't have to do it.
Right.
And then I don't have to work hard.
Right. And then I don't have to, Yeah.
So all we're doing is you're very insightful on your whole process. But when the story I don't know how comes up, just be mindful of it. It's that's the part that wants to keep me safe. Okay. Totally innocent. And claim that you do know how. And that you have choices. Okay. You're very empowered. You can easily kick back into that. You're okay, I can do this if I want to. Do I want to? Okay. And what would be the next intelligent step towards that? You can ask yourself in that moment. Okay. Because then when you're asking yourself in that way, your mind's going to find evidence and what to do next. It's well, I could interview somebody. I could research what other companies are doing this. Yeah. I could start, doing LinkedIn research, whatever it may be for you, that you're starting to take the next intelligent step, because as you do that, life meets you at your point of action, doors open. Got it. And what I would encourage is you can definitely talk about a plan and breaking that down and having an exit plan if you want to, or just tottering between the two, because there's enough. You like challenge, you like diversity, and I would sit with it. It sounds like you already have.
I have other things that I think of, but this is the only thing that when I'm trying to think of a reference point of what have I done that I just really got jazzed about. Mm-hmm. I think that's it.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it's it speaks to the adventure nature, the fun, the freedom.
Yeah.
And so regardless of the form, I just want to make sure that you get it's really about living these values in whatever. And I would encourage you to start bringing these values into how you do law.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, if you are deciding to do this transition, then you are enjoying the
current
sense
state
of freedom. Yeah. And then you actually may really find that you love law from this new way. And you could be delightfully surprised by that and be innovative with how you want to take law in a new way.
Okay.
You know, I'm just in my mind like ideas about how you can do that.
Right.
Or in the meantime, you can just take the next steps towards creating this and really starting to feel into, is this something that what would be the plan around this? What would be the specifics around it? But you have to take the next step to see with it.
Yeah.
And then but more than anything, it's about these values, bringing them into how you're working.
Yeah.
And from there, and from this wholeness, my main things are, anytime you say, I don't know how, just smile at that story. It's like, okay, thank you. It's just trying to help me, you know? It's like, okay, what's the next most intelligent step here?
Okay.
Super simple. If you find yourself working hard, keep doing this process where you're talking to this younger aspect of yourself that bought into the misunderstanding that he was not born whole and that needed to do something to be anything more. And from the father that you are, you really acknowledge and see this part of you and bring that home and let him know it's true. It's like you're reparenting him.
Okay.
You know how to father, you know how to do that.
Yeah.
Really gentle. And it's not about talking, it's like you don't have to feel that way. It's like, I really get that this is scary.
Yeah.
I really get that working hard feels like a way to, well, you wouldn't say it this way, but I really get that you think you need to like buckle down for this one. It's such a beautiful way of showing up for yourself. And I wonder if there's another way, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's like this very subtle misunderstanding around, if I'm guilty, then it's like we get sent to our room if we're in trouble, as if then there's a way to pay off through pain. And it's not the way that, it's not true. We don't have to pain our way back to wholeness or to forgiveness.
Yeah.
And so really just like being mindful of that conditioning, being compassionate with even that, and just talking to that part of you and letting it know it's true. You can do the compassionate self-forgiveness, you can breathe into it somatically in your body, whatever feels good and nourishing for you. You could say exactly what he needed to hear at that time.
Yeah.
And then as you do this over time, it starts to be rewired. It's your new way of leading and living and being in the world. But it takes some consistency with it.
Yeah.
And then you feel this sense of connection. You feel this sense of freedom. It feels more fun. And then you're like, okay, what's this next? You've already started a company. You've changed careers. You have the skill set to do this.
Yeah.
And it's just about breaking it down now in terms of what's it look like for this first quarter, this next 90 days.
Okay.
In the practical. Okay,
That's
I'm going to research.
Yeah.
You know how to do those things. But I would just break that down, take the next step. And then you're going to get more information rather than being up here saying, I don't know how you get more information. And then you'll start bringing more of your values into how you work as an attorney now.
Yeah.
Does that feel solid support?
It does. There's a lot of content, so I'm going to process for a little bit.
Yeah.
There's a lot there.
Yeah.